Hey there, welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at inexpensive, made in China phase shifters. And we're going to be comparing 3 of these phase shifters to an MXR Phase 95, which is the mini version of the MXR's Phase 90. I use the Phase 95. Most of my pedals are mini pedals. I've gone mini these last few years. Why, I don't know. I just like mini pedals. But these are 3 different versions, or yeah, 3 different models of phase shifters. And we have a special treat today. We're going to bring in an old acquaintance, an old friend, Dr. Shenk, who has unlimited expertise in the field of electronics, gizmo boxes, capacitors, transistors, resistors. Smoke can come out of his ears when I'm watching him sometimes because and listening to him. You're bound to learn something when you listen to Dr. Shenk, well-known professor at the University of Transylvania, which I think V-Man, or yeah, I might have been visiting him a while back. I'll show you the board. We've just got 5 pedals sitting here. I've got a Polytune, and I will show you these. Polytune, and then we're going to let Dr. Shenk describe the 3 inexpensive phase shifters. Maybe we'll do that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to introduce my old friend, our electronics wizard, Dr. Shenk. Dr. Shenk?
Hello, I'm Dr. Shenk. Now, what a phase shifter does is it takes the input signal traveling through your guitar cable, and a little bit of delay is added to that guitar input signal, and then it's sent back through the output. So what you do have is a slight delay in the signal with the normal signal, and what you wind up with is a signal that's a little bit out of phase, you see. That's why it's called a phase shifter. And the amount of delay that's applied to the phase shift is the way you get the swishy sound, okay? The swishy sound that comes out of the output. Now, I know that's a non-scientific term. I'll try to keep my explanations in layman's terms so you understand. Okay, thank you. Now, our first phase shifter that we're going to look at is a mini pedal. It's called Mini Pedal Phaser from ROHS, and this is made in China. Let's take a look to see what the underbelly looks like. Let's get it out of its little, it comes in a nice box, packaged, very, very tight in there. This is a Phaser Stax, it's called, Phaser Stax, okay? It is true bypass. It has an on-off light, so I guess you can tell when it's turned on or if it's turned off, or, you know, if it's ready to work. A little of a clicky switch. That's why Mr. Bag and the V-Man like TC Electronics, because TC Electronics has a quiet on-off switch. See how much noise that makes? It has a speed button right here, and 2 different sounds, vintage and modern. So you have the ability to adjust between a vintage and a modern type of phase. I don't know exactly what that means. I would imagine vintage sounds more analogish, less circuity, if you know what I mean. Let's look at the next box. Okay, our phase shifter number 2 is going to be the vintage phase horse, like a little horsey. And this is a little different. This looks more like it's from your high school or middle school metal shop. Comes in a nice packaged box. This one too is again one of our made in China phase shifters. It has a tiny little speed dial right here, okay? It too has an on and off light, little LED switcher right there, so you can tell if it's on or off. And, oh, it's not so bad. Your on-off switch, your little foot button right there. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. This will be number 2. Let's take a look at our third phase shifter. Okay, next up, number 3 on our phase shifter tester lister is going to be, is that Craze vintage phase. This is a KM06. It too comes in a nice box, clearly marked made in China too, as you can see. So all 3 of these inexpensive phase shifters are made in China. Low cost, I will tell you that. Each of these is in between $20 and $30. When you're looking at an MXR Phase 95, it's going to run you probably $100 US. Okay? Nice little bubble wrap. And it almost looks like our last packaged one. I've got to compare these two. It has a couple little rubber stickers on there. It too has a little LED. On-off switch is kind of noisy. And a speed dial again to adjust the amount of phase that you want to go into the signal. All these 9 volters, you know, ins, outs. If I compare this number 3 vintage phase, they almost look like the same wraparound metal. You can see. It almost looks like it's the same box with just some different. It's a little thinner, but very close in manufacturing likeness, as we'll say. Well, maybe we'll get Mr. Veg to play a few of these. But this is the general gist of what these things look like and how they work. I like phase shifters. They do add a nice effect to the guitar signal. And I've really enjoyed sharing my knowledge of these gizmo boxes, and I hope Mr. Vague asks me back again whenever he's in need of some electronics expertise. He always calls me on the phone or sends me emails or texts, and he's never really invited me over to do a video with him. Now I'm in hog heaven. Now the one phase shifter that we're going to be comparing to, aside from comparing the 3 manufactured in Chinese phase shifters, we're going to take a look and compare them to the Phase 95 MXR. I think these are still made in Japan, but I'd have to check. And this is one of the most popular, you know, Phase 90, this is the Phase 95 Mini. One of the most popular phase shifters out there. It's got a barefoot button on here with magic Velcro that Mr. Veg added. It too has, you know, it's got that pop. Again, that's why we like TC Electronics pedals. They're so good. Oh, and this has a, you know, this has a 4590 kind of switcher on it here, and some light and stuff. Oh, it's got all kinds of, I don't even know. It's got speed too. Oh, baby. Nice phase shifter.
Now, so we don't get confused, I'm going to call the first phaser the Stacks phaser. It has Stacks written, so we're going to, number 1's going to be Stacks. Number 2's going to be the horse, okay, because it has horsey on it. And the third one is going to be the Craze, or the Kissimmee, or Craze, the vintage phase. These are all vintage phases. Craze. So we've got Stacks, horse, and Craze. Commissy. Stacks, horse, Commissy. We're running through the Tyler JT22, American Special Telly, middle switch here. Well, you can't see it, sorry. Let's adjust the camera so we can get down here a little. Can you see that? Oh, there it is right there. Oh man, we got to get the camera guy in here. There, let's see how that looks. There you go. Middle switch, tone all the way up. All of the phase shifters, all 4 of them, are at unity gain, right up the middle as far as their speed dials go. Okay, here we have our setup. This is the stacks at unity gain. We've got the tuner in here. The horse, and it too is at 12 o'clock. The Kimisi and the 95 right here. So that's for our first test. The first test for the Stax phaser. Vintage sound. Right up the middle, clean. Let's see. For being up the middle, it's not much phase. A little lower here. It's not that much phase. Number 2, right up the middle. Oh, you hear that? Our cables are all plugged in the same. We're running these in series. Some might say that, well, you should test each one individually, straight through to the. But that's too noisy for me. I don't like the horsey, and I like the name horsies. You know. And this is right up the middle with the noise, E chord. Yeah. A lot more phasey than the Stax, but kind of dull. Doesn't have that trebly edge to it. And next is the Kimisi. Nice and quiet. I like the quietness. Not bad. You can hear that phase. And let's compare that to the MXR Phase 95 right up the middle too, okay? Here we go. Nice and quiet. Oh. So you can hear that compared to the other 3 inexpensive phase shifters, the 95 has much more of a shift in the phase as far as the speed goes when we're right up the middle at 12 o'clock. That tells me that it's got a much bigger range. If we turn it to 9 o'clock, we're going to get some good phase. If we turn it 3/4, we're going to probably get some, start to get bubblies, because this thing's got a bigger range than the other 3. Automatically, I like the 95 already, and that's really our go-to phase. Now we are at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock on the dial. I've got this on vintage, by the way, and this is our Stax. Our horsey is at 9, Kimisi is at 9, and we've got our 95 at 9 o'clock on the speed dial. Okay, our second test is going to be each of them set at 9 o'clock, their speed dials. Okay, first up, Stax. Just a very light shift there. You can hardly hear any change. It's very mellow. But for some tunes that might be the sound you want. You don't want that big of a phase, just a teensy weensy. It gets that very low. Next up, the horse. There's the noise again. Similar. Kissimmee, 9 o'clock. I think so far I'm liking the Kissimmee out of the 3 inexpensive phase shifters. That's our third out of the 1, 2, 3. And now the MXR 95 at 9 o'clock. I like that. All right, let's push them to 3 o'clock, see what they sound like. And for the third test, 3 o'clock on the stacks, 3 o'clock on the horse, Kimisi at 3 o'clock, and our 95. All these guys at 3. And we should hear some bubbles out of one of these. I know the 95 is going to give me a bubble. Our third test, 3 o'clock on the speed dials. Here comes stacks. Sounds very nice. Horsey, here comes some noise. It's also got that wow, wow, wow. Let me see. I'm going back to stacks here just for a second. Yeah. Okay, Kissimmee, our third one, 3 o'clock. Very nice. I'm liking Kissimmee. And back to our trusty Phase 95 at 3 o'clock. Ah, some bubble action. So we can see the range. From 9 to 3, we've got a really big range. So it's dialed into a much bigger area, the Phase 95. Which again is a plus, I think, because you can dial it up to 7, 8 o'clock and have real mellow phase on, which is like 12 o'clock for the other inexpensive phasers. So it has a much wider palette to choose from. So, I don't know about you, but I'm liking the Kimisi, which is the third one out of our 3 inexpensive models. And I like it. It's quiet. It has a nice phase sound. It doesn't have the range of the 95, but if I was to keep one of the 3, I think it would be the Kimisi. Second would be the stacks, and third is our poor Horsey, which is too noisy for me. Leave comments. This was a very simple test just out of an E-chord, running a couple of levels on the dial, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, just to get a good feel of what each box does or sounds like. And of course, we've got the 95, so that's on the board already. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave comments. Disagree, agree. If you know of any other inexpensive phase shifters, let me know. Leave comments. I like checking out pedals, of course. It's fun to play with the toys. And we will see you next time. Hope you enjoyed Dr. Shenk. Dr. Shenk, he's a wizard, I'll tell you. I've been trying to get him to the orthodontist, but he's a recluse. Just likes to drink coffee and stay in his basement.